Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode here of the Lonely Risk Podcast. I am your host, as always, Blake Ray. And today's guest is going to be a fun one. While she did not set out to work in watches, she followed her curiosity that turned into a passion, into a platform, and now ultimately a career. She is the creator of the Watchbox Diaries, a voice that shapes it normalizes women buying, wearing, collecting, and confidently talking about watches in a space that is dominated by men. She has also been doing eBay finds, podcasts, YouTube, brand storytelling. She works with Anne Ordain in Poland, and she has helped reshaped, in my opinion, what representation in horology can look like without losing authenticity while doing so. Today, we are going to be talking passion, turning profession, finding your voice in a male dominated industry, and building community online and what it really takes to stay genuine while your hobby becomes your job. So settle in. This is going to be an awesome conversation. And I'm sure by now, you know, we have Lucy from the Watchbox Diaries. What's up?
Hi guys, Lucy, aka the Watchbox Diaries here. I feel like I have to have
Yeah.
an introduction in there. Hi,
Yeah.
thanks
I
for
know.
having me.
Yeah. No, thanks for coming on. This has been a fun one. We've been trying to make this happen for a while now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie. When I saw you doing content with my friends, I was a little jealous. I was like, "What the hell?" No, I'm joking.
I'm here, there, and everywhere, and yeah, it's a bit crazy. Life has been crazy, like good crazy, but it's good. So yeah, if ever I don't respond to you, I'm really sorry.
No,
I'm
no,
a
I'm
bit
totally
airheady
joking.
sometimes.
I'm 99.9% of the time I'm usually ghosted. So you are the 0.1%. Um, and yeah, we met. I'm trying to keep up with it because it seems like a blur. I know we were hanging out in Austin briefly,
Yeah.
and then before then we met in Switzerland, right? Wasn't it Switzerland?
Do we meet? Yeah, we meet in Time to Watches briefly.
So we may have met in LA
We met in LA
or
at the Minutes and Hours.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then Time to Watch is in Switzerland.
Yes, I was there as well. I was there with Paulin.
Yeah. So it seems
So
like
many.
everywhere like I know, it seems like everywhere like we end up being at the same place at the same time always. So
I met so,
um
I met so many people last year that I've been speaking to for years or know of through watch content and the watch community that I'd never met before. So it was like it's kind of a blur of community and events from last year, I think.
it's the same to me. It's the same to me because when I was in Austin, I was helping a brand there and I like looked over and I was like, I think I know her. and then like yeah, like we made eye contact a couple of times and I was like, okay, like I think I know her, like maybe somewhere, but it just
Honestly,
becomes
it's so funny because I'm short-sighted, so I wear glasses. But for my YouTube videos and like events that I'm there, kind of the Watchbox Diaries, I've tended to not wear my glasses for it. Um,
oh.
and a lot of last year, I ended up because my eyes got really sore from all the aircon, I guess, and all the traveling and stuff. My eyes were really dry, so I was wearing glasses, and the amount of people that came up to me was like, "You vaguely look familiar, but I can't place you." And then I took my glasses off. I was like, "Oh, I'm the Watchbox Diaries." They're like, "Yes, that's you." I'm like, I understand. I kind of understand now why people didn't know that Clark Kent was Superman because a lot of people didn't recognize that it was me with glasses on.
Naturally,
Which is maybe what
naturally.
happened in LA with you.
That could be. That could be. I mean, I don't put myself out there. Like, I mean, if you watch any of the content that I do, like, I think this is one of the few times where I put my face on camera, because I've tried to be very intentional with the content that I produce. It's not about me. It's about the watches, is the way I see it. So like a lot of times too, like if you I mean, again, if you watch the content that I produce, like I literally just use like a little white table and a white background. I don't do all these crazy like flat lays with books and like accessories. And I mean, if you guys do that, more power to you. But like, I'm very kind of clean and minimalist, and I don't like to put myself out there because it's not about me. It's about the watches. And we talked briefly about this, kind of like preserving my passion, and so I'm curious for you, like, let's start from the beginning. Obviously from what I read, like your journey with watches began with you, was it borrowing your stepdad's like Rolex Datejust? Is that
Yeah, that's the
is that
one.
right? And
Yeah.
what was it about that watch that really like changed watches for you?
It wasn't super flashy, and I know that sounds funny because it was a Datejust with a Jubilee bracelet, but this was well loved. It was a very simple champagne dial, very understated, 36 millimeter, and it was stretched. That bracelet was just fully stretched from use. It had dings and dents and scratches and marks all on it. And I loved that about it. It wasn't a super flashy thing. It was kind of different to, I guess, the ladies' watches that I was used to, being pointed in the direction of. But it also wasn't huge, big, tall watches that when you don't really know watches and you think of men's watches, that's kind of what you expect to see. You have very, very distinct male, big, tall watch aesthetics, very small, pink, dainty, girly watches. And you don't often, or you didn't often, I guess, back in the day, that crossover between the two. So this size wasn't too flashy, wasn't too girly, wasn't too masculine. It was just a perfect, simple piece, but with all the dings and dents and history and character built into it, I just kind of fell a little bit in love with it. And then upon inquiring about it, like, oh, what's the story with this? Like, when did you get it? Obviously, as a non-watch, proper watch person at the time, you still know who Rolex are. So, you start asking the questions, and my stepdad's basically like, oh, it's been here with me. It's been here with me. I dinged it on this thing. Well, it's been on this hot. And then the stories started coming out around it. And I was like, yeah, I need to know more about this.
So that was the moment for you that it like light bulb where it stopped becoming an accessory and kind of started becoming like something of meaning. Is
Yeah,
that
100%. Yeah.
And then sorry?
Sorry, I was gonna say this, and then, what he wanted to do really was buy something of significance, love it, wear it, build history, build stories to it, and then pass that down to his children. And that took it over the edge for me. I was like, okay, this is a sentimental item that has all the history that can be passed down. It's not just a thing to be put in a box. It's not just a thing that tells time. There's extra to it.
Yeah, and something too that I read, thanks to Vincent, my buddy Vincent from
Love
Mainspring.
Vincent.
I know, me too. He gave me everything I needed to know about you.
Oh, no.
Well, at least I read his entire article and his whole write up on you, and I was like, okay, Vincent, you're the man. I don't have to go anywhere else. But in that article, you seem to really kind of resonate with like the dings and imperfections and like vintage patina, and how that kind of communicated with you beyond like a sparkly shiny object. Is
Yeah,
that accurate?
100%. Yeah, I love those imperfections. I love the character. Some people love everything super pristine and brand new, and I don't. I like things that have a little bit of that. They're not perfect, but they're perfect in their imperfections. They have a history. There's stories to tell. You can I imagine stories from some of those dinks and dents. You're like, oh, I bet the previous owner got it from this, and it's interesting and it's good fun. It's kind of like going to a museum, but having one on your wrist. There's stories, there's art, there's a bit more to it than just. It feels like there's more life to it. There's more
Yeah.
character, and it's not just cold.
Yeah. No, so super funny. So, like, at one point when I first got into the watch industry, I was selling watches and, and I come from, like, when you go through the markets, like, I would go through the markets of Istanbul and, like, you see people and with the way that they show, a watch's sapphire, like a sapphire crystal, they put a power drill with, like, a drill bit on it, and they're like, like, sapphire, sapphire, like, to show. And so, so funny, no shit, I've never told anybody this, but I was literally like I was demoing, like I was like, oh, watches have sapphire crystals now. The only thing that can scratch a sapphire crystal is a diamond. And so I take my watch off. It was another Panerai, and I literally like scratch it all up against the glass there, like the glass like showcase. And then I look at it and it's got a huge gash in it, and I'm like, oh shit, what the hell did I just do? Like, how is it possible that glass can scratch a sapphire? And then so I'm freaking out. I'm like, it's almost like looking there like an idiot, like, oh yeah, like I don't want to show you what I just did to my own watch.
Oh my
But
gosh.
then I go home and I put poly watch on it and I just like rubbed it and gone. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So apparently it was,
Right.
transfer. Yeah, it was transfer onto the sapphire. But for that whole 1 second, I was like freaking out. I was like, I'm never gonna do that again.
Oh, Polly watch to the rescue.
I know. And now they have poly watch with like little, I think they're little like what are they, like diamond chunks or something now? So they work for
Wow.
sapphires instead of acrylic or some shit.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I didn't know that. I didn't.
yeah, I think they have another. So I can send you a link if you need. Um, but it seems that like how long did you borrow that Datejust and like it seems like it was probably more important for you to like borrow it than at now looking back, like even owning it, right? Is that
I mean, I will own it one day. It will be
oh
mine.
wow.
It will be mine one day, but not until it's officially passed down, which obviously I do not want to rush. But
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, that's actually how I ended up with my Rolex, my OP36, because the concept of having your watch, loving it, creating history with it, and then passing it down to your children, love that idea. Like it's so sweet and sentimental. And yeah, obviously I'm not getting that Datejust anytime soon. fingers toes crossed. So yeah, for my 30th birthday, I'm insanely lucky. This isn't like an everyday occurrence. I can't just go out and purchase, a
Sure.
Rolex. Yeah, for my 30th, I got to choose a watch for me to have to add sentimental value to eventually pass down to my children with all of my history, my dings, my dents, my character and stories added to it. And I didn't end up I didn't go out of my way to choose a Rolex. It could have, if I had have got hold of a Seiko to begin with, or a Grand Seiko, or, I probably would have gone with one of those. But because the watch that started it all, the sentimental watch, was a Rolex, I was like, I kind of do also want a Rolex to do that with. And I didn't want anything flashy. I loved that idea with it. So I looked at the OP because it is the perfect everyday watch, very versatile, sturdy. I do say this about like the OPs and the Rolex Explorer. Like they're perfectly boring watches. They're the perfect boring watch. I love that about it. So I looked at this was not even that long ago, and you could try on all of the different colors. I must have tried on 7 or 8 OP colorways in store in stainless steel, which now is completely unheard of unless it's an exhibition piece. So I tried loads of them on, couldn't really make the right decision, and then went in and found this 369 blue dial OP, and I was like, that's the one. That is the one. It's slightly different, which again apparently now is my thing. Classic with a twist. It's something that really stood out to me, but in such a subtle way. Slightly different to the standard OP. So yeah, blue dial as well. That sunburst is beautiful. 36 millimeter as well. And yeah, that's my baby now. And I get to, I've definitely
It's a
got some
dream.
dinks. Definitely got some dinks in it already.
It's a beautiful baby.
She is. She's a beautiful baby. Yeah, I love her very
I
much.
I at one point in my journey have also owned a blue dial or perpetual and
Yeah,
41, and then the black dial.
I like the
So
style.
I do too. I do too. And yeah, it's cool. And then I've started to kind of like move away from Rolex, like personally. So like, over time, like I think I had at one point like I know this is going to sound really weird and arrogant, but I had like five Rolexes at one point. And then there was only one that really kind of resonated with me. And I had the Starbucks Submariner. I had the blue and black OP, and then I still have the Datejust Wimbledon and 41 with like the fluted bezel, the Jubilee, like the kit, right? The essential kit. And
I like colorways on them. I think it's a really interesting piece.
I love that watch. And to me, like, living in Vegas, like a lot of my friends are like, "Oh, Blake, you need a Vegas watch." Like and I'm like, "What is a Vegas watch?" And it's got to be something like gold, like a gold Daytona or like a
You need to get that rainbow Daytona. Like
yeah, yeah, or like a meteorite. I'll take a meteorite Daytona if somebody's listening out there. But or even like a day date, right? And to me, I was joking with my friend. So like, Formula One, when they started having Formula One here, like we always do like a huge group of like people that come into town. And so one of my friends, it was like a lot of the group that comes like is from the Rolex forums. Like they were like there's probably like 50 of us like that got together. We all were doing dinners of 50 and like events of 50 and like watches Switzerland like shut the boutique down for us and like all this cool crazy stuff. And I knew they were all Rolex people, so I wore my Wimbledon. And one of the guys was like, "Oh man, like I love that." And he was wearing a platinum Daytona. And so I was like, okay, cool." Like, but he's a good buddy. And so he's like, "Let's trade for the day." And we had the same wrist size. So I'm like, "Okay, like I'm very happy to give you my little minuscule Datejust here for your platinum Daytona for the day." And
no
yeah,
pressure.
so I had a Vegas watch for all of the day. Um but no. And yeah, Rolex is just one of those brands that people always get. It's like that's the watch, like aspirational watch. And for me, it was actually Breitling. Breitling. My dad was a Breitling guy,
Yeah.
so yeah, inheriting his watch was kind of like one of those things that like was the most meaningful things that ever happened to me. You know, and
See,
so
it
yeah.
just so much more meaningful when it's sort of passed down from generation as well. Like that additional
It
element of mentality.
there's a cooler story that I've talked about before, and some people who listen probably know. But like my dad, like he was a real estate agent in North Carolina, which is where I was born. And then we moved out to Vegas together. And then for whatever reason, like he decided to get his real estate license here in Nevada. And so after he graduated his real estate program, he was like one of the guys in his like teachers there, which was some dude, some younger guy. My dad's like, in his mid 60s, right? Like he's being educated by this like 35-year-old guy, right? So anyways, he said, "Oh, you need a nice watch if you want to be a real estate agent." And so, of course, my dad comes to me as a watch collector, like, "Blake, what watch should I get?" I was like, "You don't have to get a watch. Like, you can just borrow one of mine." So, um,
Very kind.
at the time, I had like, at first it was a Tissot PRX, and then he was like, "I need something nice, man, something nice." And I was like, "This is a nice watch." But then I gave him my 1601 Datejust, like my vintage Datejust. which I had for another brief period, and that's something I moved on. Um, and then eventually he was like, "Man, this is like isn't flashy enough." I'm like, "What do you mean flashy enough?" So like me, my wife, and my dad all were like, "All right, let's just go to Booker and take a look and see what they got." And um, my dad's like, "I need a Rolex, man. I need a Rolex." And I'm like, "You don't need a Rolex. Like everybody's got a Rolex, like." And so we go to the certified pre-owned cases of Rolex, and like my dad found this like Datejust, like diamond bezel, like diamond markers. And it was like, I don't even know how much it was, but it was way overpriced because, that was when they just started the CPO program and
Yeah.
like everything was like 35% more expensive than it was. Um, I was like, Dad, don't do this. I just tried to keep telling him. And so eventually he was like, okay, well, what else am I going to buy? And so I'm like, just like rushing around the store, like looking for him to save him from this like gaudy Datejust. And eventually I get to the Breitling case and I'm like, what about this? It's like a two-tone super ocean, like gold bezel, like on rubber, like it's got like a nice little like micro adjustment, super comfortable. And then, that was it. So I saved
Flashy for
him.
watch. Perfect. That's exactly what he needed. He wanted the
Yeah, it
flashy
is.
for every day. Breitling, different brand.
It, yeah, it just says something different, like it says something different about my dad. And so yeah, and then I was, thinking at some, obviously like at some point, this is going to be something that I inherit. So I'm like in a weird selfish way, I'm thinking like, oh fuck, like if he buys this, like I don't think I'm ever going to be able to enjoy this. And so yeah, when he passed away and I got that Breitling, like I love it. I love it so much, and it means so much more.
Yeah.
Um all right, rant over. Um
Correct.
but before watches, you were in like was it dancing and was it like theater? Is that right? Did I understand that correctly? Like
Well, yeah, I don't really tell too many people, but yeah, when you have a university degree and then you finish university and you don't ever do what you did at university,
yeah.
try not to tell too many people this
Oh, I'm
because
sorry.
you do ever see me out and about. I'm probably doing the Running Man. But I do have a degree in dance and performance. That's
That's
a
not embarrassing, is it?
little fact, just a little fact there. No, they're like,
Vi-
"Oh, you didn't pursue dance." I was like, "No, I didn't. Sorry."
Vincent
But
aired you out.
telling all my secrets.
Yeah. I mean, no, I thought it was cool because, obviously, like, that's artistic, it's creative, right? Like, it's
Very.
expressive, just
Yeah.
very much like watches. So, like, would you say that, like, going to school and learning about dance and performances, like stage performances, like, would you say that that impacted you, like, as a collector in some weird way?
I I think maybe how I approach dance and the study of dance is kind of similar to watches. You know, part of the reason I chose the course that I did was because they actually had quite a lot of history subjects around it. The history of a particular dance and the reasons that they do that and the cultures around the particular dance and the style. So like learning about that history and the stories around it and the origins is definitely something that I also implement within my approach to watches as well. That's probably where part of the reason I love vintage pieces is because of that mentality and that connection to history and past stories. So yeah, I guess maybe you can connect the two that way. It's definitely
Mm,
free flowing, like dance. There's so many varieties of it. I don't know if you have more than a couple of watches, you just fancy wearing a particular watch based on your mood that day. And again, that's very much like dance. It's
Yeah.
how you feel that day, and that's how it's an expression of yourself. And I think the watches are that, yes, they do tell the time. For me personally, and what I wanted to get out there is it's an extension of my personality. It's extension of my likes and my preferences and my style, and it's just a further extension of myself. And it's a very personal, like a watch is a very personal thing, in my opinion. So that's why, I guess that's the connection that I have to dance.
Do you wake up and like immediately know like which watch you're gonna put on, or do you have to like kind of like mull around and be like, oh, I'm feeling like this today. Like, let me try this. And then you put a watch on, you're like, I love this, but not for today. Like, does that happen to you?
I'm kind of a little bit of both, because I don't know whether people listening are similar to me in that respect, but sometimes I will wake up and my mind will just do a million things at once, and I'll have like 10,000 tabs open. And one of them will be, what watch haven't I worn in a long while? Do they feel lonely? Oh, maybe I'll wear that watch today. And then what outfit am I going to wear with that watch? And I'll be like, that's the watch I'm wearing, and I'll build my outfit around it. And then some days I'll just wake up and be like, I'm going to wear my favorite again today. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that I've worn it 5 days in a row. I'm hyper focused on this watch at the moment. Or you can switch the strap up and then match it to your outfit. But yeah, I'm kind of a bit of both, depending on how active I think my brain is, and how I feel like watches, they get lonely if they're not worn for a while.
Maybe. This is appropriate for the show, considering the name of my podcast. Somebody's finally
exactly. I feel like there are watches in my collection that get a little bit lonely, and then I feel bad and guilty as a watch parent that I've neglected some of my children. So I must switch it up.
I say that to my my wife a lot. Like when we're running errands for the day, if we're gone for like 4 hours or so, like I like look up, I'm like, honey, like we were gone for 4 hours. That's like 3 years to like a dog, like jokingly, like we need to get home. They've probably been waiting a month for us, like
Exactly.
and I need to have that approach for watches, because like I have so many watches that I don't wear.
Yep.
And I think a purge is coming. But I need to think about like I bring watches into my collection, and then I forget why I brought them into the collection. And then when I wear them again, I realize like, oh, like this is why I purchased it or whatever, like so that gets lost on me. But
I like the idea. So my other half, he is kind of a nerd, and he loves a good spreadsheet. So he, for the last 2 years, has actually done a spreadsheet and daily updates of which watch he chooses to wear that day, based on his entire collection. And at the end of the year, there's obviously a pie chart involved to show which ones are the favorites, which ones haven't been worn so much. And then there's the talk of the purge, like this has only been worn twice this year. Okay, I like the idea of wearing that watch for a week, and then if you're still not in love with it and you don't remember the reasons that you purchased it in the first place, maybe we think about getting rid, and then finding a home with someone who will actually wear it and appreciate it.
That's what has given me like comfort and clearing out stuff. Like I'm like, hey, like in my collection is probably somebody's grail, and like it's rotting in my collection or collecting dust or whatever, but like somebody might rob a bank to buy one of the watches that I have, or like like mug somebody, or like I don't know. I mean, not that I have muggable watches, but you get it, right? Like somebody who would go to any length of measure to have that watch. And so I've started to like get some comfort in that. Oh yeah, for your significant, there is apps for that, just so you know. If he, it sounds like he does it the manual way, and like
no, he's very good with Excel.
Okay.
He's a whiz. I don't know what he uses. He doesn't want to use the app. He likes his little spreadsheet. I'm sure he knows about the apps.
the world needs people like him for sure.
He's really helpful when when it comes to using Excel. I'm like, what was that? What was that formula again?
Is he good with Word and PowerPoint and all the whole package? Okay.
Yeah, he's pretty much he's a nerd. Yeah, I would say. Very helpful. Great in a quiz as well.
Oh, okay. Um, super curious. So it seems like you also let's talk about transitioning into the watch industry full time because now you're with Anne Ordain and Paulin, and like shout out to Lewis. Lewis is a friend of the pod. You know, you left a career, was it in manufacturing? Is that did I understand that correctly too? Is this more stuff that like you were trying to bury or
no, I love the transition. I love the very drastic transition or seemingly drastic transition of, you know, what I was doing before to what I'm doing now. But yeah, I was a production planner for a manufacturing company before full-time watches. So something that requires you to be incredibly organized and deal with multiple people in, you know, multiple departments at multiple different levels. So, you know, very transferable skills. But obviously I was also doing my YouTube stuff in my spare time, evenings and weekends and stuff. So yeah, it became quite a juggling act beforehand.
What inspired you to create like a channel like this, like to share your perspective? Like where was the light switch that you're like, okay, like my passion can't so for me, just some context and maybe you can frame it how you want, but like I was so passionate about watches that like I couldn't contain it within me. That I'm like, it just oozed out of me. So like I was talking about it all the time to my wife, and I'm like, "Oh my god, like, baby, check out this new watch really." And she's like, "Shut the hell up." So like, part of me was like, if I don't have anybody to talk about this or express myself, like to, or in this case, like the podcast, I was joking with somebody, like it really just started as like me and friends having conversations, and I kind of wanted to archive them, and I was like, let me put them online so I can listen to later, and now it became a real thing. But like, you know, how did you decide to like put yourself out there and start producing content and sharing your perspective? Like where was that light bulb moment for you?
Well, I actually had someone at home to chat watches to, which was great. It consumes most of our life. However, it became very clear very quickly that as a I'm quite a minority being a female within the watch community. So it was nice. Like the community is fantastic. It was very supportive of me as a female coming into it and sharing, and it's such a supportive place. I absolutely adore it. But there weren't many females out there doing it. Obviously, I massively look up to, you know, people like Kat and Catelyn, because the 10 and 2 podcast was one of the ones that really got me more confident in being part of the community and like actually having a voice, and a relevant voice in a very male dominated area. So yeah, I guess the turning point kind of was, I've seen other women do it. I've met other women. You know, some of the women that I have spoken to, they were very nervous to get into it. There weren't many channels out there that, you know, that were female orientated. So, and the podcasts and the videos that I found, it's not that I struggled to connect with them, but there was something missing for me with it, something that felt, and I wanted to create something that was very casual and relaxed and accessible to people, because coming into that industry as a female, it can seem quite intimidating. And even if you take like the female aspect of it out, it can seem quite intimidating because there's so much to learn. There's so many brands, there's so many like elements to a watch and things like that. So I wanted to create something that was easily accessible and understandable to people. And it's not necessarily about the specs, because there are multiple people out there that do it way better than me. They know their stuff in terms of like the movements and the elements of it. And unless it's something for me that's like super, super interesting, the movement, things like the movement aren't necessarily a big thing for me. And that's fine. You know, that's not, if you're looking for intricate details of movements, I'm probably not your gal. But something that's accessible, something that, okay, she's wearing this watch, this is what she likes about it, this is what she dislikes about it. And having that kind of approach to it, I thought, well, I'll give it a go. And if even one person out there resonates with that and appreciates that content and, you know, thanks me for being a bit more accessible, then that's amazing. Like, I'd feel fantastic because, you know, people did that for me and it felt amazing. So,
Yeah.
and it's been so nice. Like, when people come up to me and they're like, we love your content. You know, my wife doesn't really like watches that much, but the podcasts that she likes are yours. And honestly, it just makes me so happy and so grateful for what I do.
Yeah, I mean, that's Kat is amazing, and same thing for Catlin. Both amazing creators. I was also very sad when the 10 and 2 podcast ceased, but now it seems like they're off to they're still accessible, right? They're still contributing to the community in different ways.
And they did it. They started a podcast, and now they're both working full time in watches as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I was working full time in watches, and I stepped back to doing this, which just seemed more fun, I guess, because like, having to sell watches, it's not very fun. I felt like a door-to-door salesman or something, like having to go ring, not really, but you get it, right?
Yeah.
Like I was chasing people down to buy watches, and
And some people love it, and that's great if that's your passion. But if you have
Sure.
the ability to do something that you thoroughly enjoy, then obviously you're going to choose to do that, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. Curious to talk about. I have personally seen firsthand like a shift in and women getting into the watch industry. Like I've seen it. I've also seen male collectors discriminate against women in the it was I'll have to tell you what happened offline, like once we wrap this podcast, but it was terrible. And then so since you've got in, like, have you seen the shift now, and have you seen like it be like lowering the I wouldn't say lowering the barrier of entry, but these are very technical objects, and some people feel like they need to be technical to talk about them or to create content about them. And that's not really what people care about. People care about like the perspective that you apply to that product or that watch or release or whatever. So, I'm sure you've probably noticed like a shift on how women are now being received in the watch industry.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen so many more. It's maybe not necessarily that there weren't female enthusiasts out there, but that they're a bit more confident in actually being part of the community now. But yeah, there's the shift has been huge since I started out on Instagram, maybe 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago now. And even on YouTube, meeting at events, there's more females that are genuinely interested and intrigued in the watches. It is intimidating, especially when you first, you want to get into watches, but there's so much new language to learn and terminology that you don't necessarily know, and you might feel intimidated because you don't know it. But then you also might be too intimidated to ask the questions to people. So then you end up never learning and never sort of developing that love and that passion. So yeah, I always say to people, like, don't be afraid to ask. If you think it's a stupid question, it's not a stupid question, because it means you learn something.
Yeah.
Something new. And yes, there are there I think there always will be, and it's with literally with every hobby and industry. You are going to get people that are gonna either like belittle you or make you feel like you're stupid or that you don't know anything. And yeah, it can. There are certain people out there that make it feel like a boys' club, but my personal experience is that they're very few and far between. And yeah, I love the support of the rest of the community. That if something like that is flagged, I feel there are a lot more people that come in and show support for them and go, no, that's not okay. Like this is a hobby for everybody.
Yeah. A lot of my time too, like when I'm not doing this. So I have a watch club. I run a watch club here in Vegas. And
Love
so
that.
like I've been trying to create this whole idea on like fostering an environment that everybody feels comfortable. You know,
Yep.
that's the biggest challenge. And like, you know, we were planning an event with one, I can't remember which brand it was. But one of the guys in the club, he was like in the chat. Like we have a huge WhatsApp chat, like all of us. Like that's where all the clubs are, the watch clubs. Um, so he was in there and he saw the event and then he sent me like a private message and he was like, "Hey Blake, like I want to come to this meetup." And I'm like, "Oh, cool. Like, yeah, I'll see you there." He's like, "But I only have one watch. So
Oh,
I'm not like a watch collector. Like, like, can I, like, is it okay if I come?"
yeah.
And I'm like, What? Like, what's happening here? Like you don't even have to own a single watch to come to our watch events. Like, you know, I want to create a space if I can, like in a perfect world, and this is not that, but like if you're watch curious, like you can go to any watch event. You know,
Yep.
in my eyes, all the events that I go to, like you can go to Wind Up, you can go to Watch Time or freaking Watches and Wonders if you want to do that. You know, I don't know why you would, but like you know, you can go to those events. So like just figuring out my challenge and something that I am trying to work on is like how do we communicate that to everybody, you know? Like cuz you know, creating that and fostering that environment that everybody feels welcome, like we're already a small hobby.
Yep.
And if we continue with the trajectory that we're on, like there's just going to be less and less of us as time continues, I think, you know? And so how can we lower the bar, you know, and how can we communicate that this is an industry for everybody and that you don't have to own a watch to be a watch enthusiast or I
I think
struggle with that every day.
there's a massive difference between being a watch collector and being a watch enthusiast. You know, a collector, you may have a specific watch that you collect multiples of, or a brand that you collect multiples of. A watch enthusiast to me is someone who is just interested in watches, in learning watches, in looking at watches, in talking about watches. You could own a G-Shock and come to a meetup and feel comfortable there. I am a chapter head for one of the Red Bars, so Red Bar Cambridge,
Oh,
and
cool.
we have so many people that come in that are a little bit nervous. And then I'm like, just look at the table. You know, people will be just as excited about a G-Shock as a Langenstone. Like,
Yeah.
there's a table that, you know, people bring such an array that people are interested in their stories and where they got them from, and you know, a little bit a bit more about the watch themselves and the people that own the watches as well. And you end up half the time just talking and making friends with people as well. So that's how you bring in the community aspect of it. And I love the amount of variety. I'm obviously very biased, but I love our chapter because it's so inclusive. Everyone's so friendly and it's such a fun, pleasant, low pressure, just chilled group of people. And yeah, like I just love them.
Same. Same. Like everybody in our group here is like we have so much diversity. Like it's awesome. It's so cool to just see everybody coming together from total different parts of the world, like total different backgrounds, like and just the watches all bring us together. It's magical.
Exactly. That's it. There's no
Um
bias. there's no bias there. And if there is, it gets called out. And if you've got an issue with it, off you go, because
I
that's
know.
not
Yeah.
the healthy environment we want to provide.
Yeah, and for me, like when I started like my group, like I literally like started off and I started adding people to it and I'm like, hey, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm doing. And then I started to notice that people have like purged themselves from the group, you know? And at first I was like, oh, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Like people are like backing out of my WhatsApp group, like they're self-deleting themselves like from WhatsApp. And then as I started talking to like some of our other like co-founders, they're like, oh, they're just doing the work for us. You know, if they're not going to show up to the events and they don't want to talk watches, they don't want to share wrist picks or anything, like
Yep.
let them go, you know? Um I want to talk about you as a collector. You know, I also read that you were trying to collect a watch from every decade of the 20th century. Is that
Yeah, you've done your research, yes. Like Vincent's literally just giving everything away.
I
Yes, well,
shout out to Vincent
yes,
Mainspring. That's my
Vincent.
buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Well, that was the goal initially, and I've kind of got carried away with multiple other things, say the last 2 years or so. But yeah, the goal was to get a watch from the 1920s onwards was the goal at the time, like up to the 2020s. So one for every decade. So I think I already had 20s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 80s, 90s, 2010s, and a 2020 now as well. So I thoroughly broke my 1920s one. That's gone. But I still don't only have a few left to collect, I think. And I think this year might be the year to actually I say that. We bought a house last year, so
Oh,
renovations
okay.
may take a front seat with that one. But
Yeah,
yeah, over
for
the
sure.
next couple of years, I think I wanna bring that goal back up, because the thought of having that collection just feels amazing, because I've then covered each decade. You can see the variety from era to era, the style changes. These aren't super expensive pieces. Like, one of them was an eBay purchase from when I first started my journey. So one of them was, gifted from a friend who services watches. He's like, hey, do you want to try this on for a little bit? I'm going to sell it eventually, but do you want to have a little play around with it? Obviously, this man was very smart. He's a very smart salesman, because I wore it for a week, absolutely fell in love with it, and bought it off him. It's my little 1950 Amiga. Super simple, the most beautiful patina on the dial, clean. Yeah, just a joy to look at. So that one, that
Yeah.
one I'm a massive fan of.
Tell me about I'm curious, like obviously wristwatches in the 1920s, like pocket watches were still kind of like the jam, you
I
know?
need a watch.
Um, so like what watch do you own from the 1920s that's a wristwatch?
It was an Arnex, I think it was. Tank, just this little gold-plated tank. Like,
Oh,
my
cool.
still a little eBay purchase from the 1920s, and it was a gorgeous piece, and I've unfortunately damaged it beyond repair, really. But I do want to replace it with something a little bit more sparkly now, I think. I'm going against everything I previously said, but that, like, 1920s Art Deco bracelet,
I
like
love it. Yeah.
the hidden watch style, I'm really into that. I'm really, really
I
into that. So I think that's gonna be my replacement. Maybe I need to get on, like, the auction sites for it, because they seem to have
do it.
some really good Art Deco vintage pieces from the 20s.
I love Art Deco. It's like my thing. So, um Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. And then, obviously in the 1918s, during like the trench era, that's when like utility watches and then you transition. Yeah, it's such
Yeah,
a cool period to me.
yeah.
Um, I'm curious, and I actually have a video that by the time I launch this podcast, it might be out, but I'm trying to talk about, or at least I'm trying to educate people on how they bring watches into their collection. Like I have, and this makes sense to me, but I'm curious. You might be able to correct me here on air. Um, but like, when you buy a car, right? You're like, oh, Nissan, Ford, or other cars in the UK. I'm not sure what cars are popular in the UK, but but like you're like, oh, you like start doing research, like, oh, this has a gear train problem, or like, oh, this has like a camshaft issue, or like the whatever, right?
Yeah.
People look at, they do research on repairing a car before they own the car. And so I want to talk about that, like, and I'm going to in some other content, but like, um, I wish us as collectors thought about that, you know?
It probably is the one downside, particularly to vintage watches, because it gets a lot more expensive with vintage pieces to repair, because a lot of the parts are harder to source if you want the original like for like.
Yep.
So yeah, like I would say like the one downside to being into vintage and getting into vintage is the servicing. That you have to be aware of that and have an idea that they are costly. Like servicing a watch is costly. It is.
Yep.
It's going to cost you money. And obviously, the more expensive the watch, the more expensive the service is going to be. A lot of the bigger brands, you have to take them to them
The
directly
brands. Yeah.
to get them serviced. If someone who owns a service center, brilliant. That's an extra bonus to you. But yeah, with vintage pieces, it can get pretty expensive to repair them. So
You're
be aware of
preaching to the choir. Uh, I literally, for the
that.
past 2 years, and I am literally done. I'm literally done. So like for me as a creator, like I see a lot of people doing like watch reviews, and like that's fine, and like little short reels and stuff like that. That's just not who I am. Like I want to do content that takes real time to produce, and it probably is going to kill me at some point. It'd be the detriment of me. But over the past 2.5, maybe 3 years, I have purchased vintage watches from, I think, 7 or so different brands. And I looked for just the shoddiest ones that I could find. And then I sent them off to the brands
Yeah.
to document the journey that the watch took to restoration. And I literally, I mean, it's been 3 years in, and I'm still like, it took me like 14 months to get my watch back from Omega, It
Yeah.
took me 10 months to get my watch back from Bulgari, and then Rolex never serviced the watch that I sent them, and they gave me no reason why they didn't service it,
That's unusual. Yeah.
and then Cartier, like, they serviced the watch in 5 weeks, so it's like, I didn't have the courage to do it for Breitling, because I've heard Breitling is such a nightmare to work with in that regard, but I don't know, but um,
I mean, it's
you
worth
know,
getting in touch with them, but
yeah, and then I actually have a watch that just came back from Zenith, um, but like, but yeah, I think people need to talk about this more, and so if I can make a goal in 2026 is to educate people, like, we need to reframe our mind before we buy the shit, you know?
just unless you're literally having a watch for a short period of time and turning it around quickly, be aware of the servicing and repair costs, or know where you're sending them to, or if you have the insurance to do it, just think of the long-term ownership of it a little bit as well.
There's an interesting thing that I discovered during this process that I never expected. And like as I like Zenith is the example that I'm going to use. Omega I could also use, but like some brands when they get a vintage watch in, they take like a conservation first approach, you know?
Yeah.
Um like who and I never thought about this. Like because I'm buying watches at pawn shops here in Las Vegas and I have no attachment to them and I'm sending them back to the brands to document what it's like, what it costs, like how long it takes, how good of a job they do. Um, but like then as I started getting to brands like Zenith or Omega, you know, they only get watches from like they only get like vintage heirlooms like that have been passed down through the family, you know? And like Zenith, for example, like um you know, like I had the Zenith that I sent in, it had like water damage to it. And so like there was like what I thought I could be wrong, but what appeared to be like mildew on the dial. And so like, you know, here in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh, like they're gonna change the dial, you know, like
Do that.
nope, nope. They were like, we would not suggest changing the dial, you know, at any cost. Um, but in my mind, I'm thinking like this dial's gross, right? Like I want a new dial, you know?
Yeah.
But um
I mean, I
as
would
I
100% approach it from the other side.
yeah, I know. But like here's like where like I figured in my mind, like I tried to like convince myself differently, but like if this was like a watch that had sentimental value to me, like if it was like, you know, like you talked about like your stepdad's Datejust, or like if this was my grandpa's or my dad's or whatever, you know, like then I would never in a million years think about changing the dial, right? Or polishing the watch or whatever, right? But since I acquired it with with no emotional attachment and the
Mhm.
intention on sending it back, like to me, like it kind of washes that away.
What do you mean
And
sending it?
sending it back to the brands,
What do you mean? Sorry.
like
So
for
you
restoration.
okay, so you purchase
I
it,
per I purchased
purchase
watches with the
it
intention
for repair, and
on sending
then
them right,
okay.
right. So like it's just one big social experiment, you know, that like I purchased a vintage watch that I found, the shittiest one I could find, the coolest looking one that I could find, that like, oh, let me buy, and then immediately, like the second I buy it, like 2 days later, it's already off to the brands, you know, like not even getting a chance to wear it, you know. Um, so that's where I found myself in trouble because like then it came back and I'm like, oh, well, I don't even want this watch. Like I bought this for the experiment's over, you know? And so I found myself in a weird situation, but
But did
um
you've been purchasing watches to send off to test the servicing centers?
yes.
Okay. Okay.
Stupid, right?
I mean, it's a different approach for sure.
It's the stupidest thing I think I've ever done. It's like
But
by the time I produce this piece of content and I literally like I have emails from the brands, I have like and then I have accumulated so much information that like I'm like, fuck, how do I even format this? Like I don't even know how to present this. So, you know, this is gonna be a video that I literally wrote a little like bullet point of like, hey, here's what happened here, here's what happened there. But like I just come to the realization after all this that no matter what watch you buy, no matter what brand you send it to, it just sucks to own in the long term to service. Like service centers just suck no matter what it is.
in
Not to
terms of
own the watch.
yeah, in terms of like the process and how long it does take, I
The
guess to serve.
experience is terrible no matter what.
I think I don't know, 5 weeks for Cartier is pretty good.
That was amazing. That was the only one, but it was a modern Cartier. So let me make that clear. It was a modern Cartier. Everything else was vintage, and so like Bulgari, I had a Bulgari Gerald Genta Diagano, freaking awesome, and it I sent it off to Bulgari, and then like they didn't. So this is weird, but brands do what they call polishing and shining. And I didn't understand the difference. So like, it's shine. It's just like, oh, let's just put it under a little wheel. Let's just give it a little bit of life. But then you got people that polish a watch that'll like take everything out, take all the scratches out that they can, like surface scratches. And so like
They shouldn't do that without permission.
oh yeah, no, I that was a part of the experiment. Like I wanted to test how good they could polish the watches, so these watches came back. I'm like, why is there like little surface scratches still here? Like I wanted them to polish this, right? And in your case, you're probably cringing because I'm like getting rid of all the character.
Honestly, everything about this. I'm like, no, you would never replace that dial. You would never fully polish it.
Well, the thing is, like, some of the watches, like as I bought them, like I want to be the caretaker for like the next, like my family, like 150 years, like 200 years, like whatever, right? I want to keep these watches in the family for as long as I can, right? And the other side of it was like, okay, I'm bringing in a watch from the 1960s that like parts are already like freaking impossible to find. Like I need to find the best parts that I can and bring them into the watch right now so I can guarantee
Still
for the
running.
for the next 30, 40, 50, 60, 100, however long years that like they'll be good. So that was my other realization.
It's all personal preference.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, regardless of the social experiment with it, like it is entirely personal preference. I can see why brands want to preserve the original
for sure.
Features of it. And also, from my perspective, I want as much of my vintage watch to be authentic and original as possible. I love the patina of a watch.
I do too.
That additional character to it. But I kind of do understand. I want to get it to as good a condition as possible to increase the longevity
archive,
of it.
And so also on the flip, I have other watches like and the most common one was like Zenith, right? So this is the one that people will see very soon. Like this, I'm working on this content right now. But like I went into like a meeting with like 5 or 6 people from Zenith, which was like insane. Like I didn't expect to like I just expected to like send the watch in, but they were like wanting me to present my vintage collection to them. And like I did that. So I'm like, hey, here I got this watch here, I got that watch there, I got this watch there. Before I got on that call, they wanted me to like send pictures of them, like the head, the watch head, like the case back. Like they wanted me to open the case back and send them pictures of the movement. And so like with the face, like the inside of the case. And so like they went through like all the stuff that I sent. And then they were like, this is the watch that we think you should restore. And I guess I'll show you a picture of it. But yeah, like after they selected that one, my heart was like yes, like because there was one in there that I sent them that aged so beautifully. And I'm like, I don't want to change the dial. I don't want to change the scratches. Like it doesn't even have an original crown. Like I don't even care. Like I'm going to keep this watch like this.
Yeah.
Right. So like weirdly enough, like I don't know why or how I make those determinations, but like, I think there is a lore on both sides, if that makes sense.
Just wake up and choose violence some days. Like, I'm going to change the dial.
I feel like you're going to block me and be like, this guy like sucks. Like he looks at watches way differently.
Sacrilege with vintage pieces.
No. So curious, let's jump here a little. So if you could describe your taste of watch collecting, like your watch taste, like how would you do so?
Classic
Probably
with a
hard.
twist. That's
Oh,
it.
okay.
Classic with a twist. That all the, those classic elements of a piece, but something that's a little bit different, that has a quirk to it. Like the Vacheron American 1921 is like prime example of classic with a twist. It's, a beautifully classically made piece, but it's tilted, which is it's an unusual element to it. Although, very broad spectrums of my personal preference, everything from MB&F and de Bethune down to, very simple classic pieces like Seikos and Grand Seikos, very clean, beautiful dials. But yeah, I would definitely describe my style as classic with a twist. There's usually some element that's a little bit out of the ordinary, and that's kind of what I'm drawn to.
You also described, from what I read, the Grand Seiko Cherry Blossom as
My
the
baby.
love of your life.
She is my baby. I love her so much. She's my favorite child. I know you're not supposed to say that about your children, but yeah, she is the love of my life. I've had her now. Gosh, how old am I? Yeah, so I've had her since my 30th. So I've had her 4 years, and every single time I put that watch on, I fall in love. I get distracted by the dial when I look at the time, and I go, oh, wait, actually, I do want to check the time. And I think that for me is what you strive for when you buy a watch, to have that, oh my God, I love this watch moment whenever you look at your wrist. If you're distracted by the dial, or you're distracted by the polishing or the hands, or that element of the watch that you fell in love with when you purchased it, if you're still doing that years later, you're onto a winner. That's a forever love for sure. And that's cherry for me. And I fell in love with that watch unseen. Like, I saw pictures of it online because it was US only. And a self-proclaimed non-girly girl, like, it was a pink watch, but it's not a pink watch.
No, it's not.
It's unique in that way, how it goes from silvery to white to pink. You have to get it in the right light to have that element to it. And I loved that dial texture, the Zaratzi polishing. Absolutely fell in love with it online. So and it lived up to it plus 20 times more, like, when I finally got it in person. And yeah, still very much in love. Look how passionate I am about, like, talking about it.
Yeah.
This is a watch 4 years later. Like, I'm still so head over heels in love with that piece. Yeah,
That's
forever.
so great. So great. So funny and ironic. If things worked out the way that they were planning to, your podcast, our listeners would have been listening to Grand Seiko before you.
Yeah.
But we recorded a podcast of Grand Seiko and it got corrupted. From frickin' StreamYard. Frickin' terrible. So hopefully it'll be after this. It'll be after your episode. That'll be much more of a power punch. But no, so for me, right, I have the Grand Seiko limited US exclusive of like 300, and they came out with it last year. It's like they came out with I think one was like a pink dial, and then one was like a purple dial, or like a blue and pink or something. You know what I'm talking about?
The US only. Which case shape? I mean,
It's
I'm kind of getting a little bit
44 GS, I think, case.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it's like a bluish purple, like spring dry. I'll send you the link after. And I purchased that watch and I own it. It's in my collection. It's lonely. It's very lonely. But to me, when I look at that watch, it's so beautiful. And I'm like, this is way too beautiful. Like, why would I even wear something that's beautiful? Like, I'm a grungy dude. Like I want to watch it. Like, I can freaking like jump in like the mud with, and like,
It's got 100
Like,
meters of water resistance or something like that. Like, you can do it. Go for it.
I know, but it's just so beautiful. Like the dial is like distracting, and it's like, if I was, and I actually, when I bought that watch, like I immediately like in our club, like, do you guys ever let people like borrow watches, like club people, like, hell, borrow that, borrow that. The,
Yeah.
the, the week after I bought it, like I just immediately let one of my friends run it for like a month, and so he put all the first scratches on it, and
Oh,
then
no. Okay, that's
I don't
nice.
care.
That's
I don't
nice.
care about that. But it's just still such a beautiful watch. Like, I'm like worried, like, oh, if I wear this, like I'm gonna be looking down at the dial like every 2 seconds. I'm gonna get distracted, like, you
Oh, no.
know.
I bought a watch that I'm in love with. It's terrible.
Yeah, I know, right? But the dial, it gives off this like bluish, purplish, like in some light, it's almost like black, and
Love
it's
that. Love it.
I'll show you. I'll just show you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that sums up Grand Seiko.
It,
Like, their dials, I've got a video coming. I might even be out when this video is live, about the Grand Seiko Wisteria
oh,
that's
cool.
market only, their GMT.
Yeah, yeah.
Purple dial, beautiful, beautiful piece. Like, like the way that they do their dials, the textures that they put in, the colorways that they choose to go along with it as well. It's unlike any other. Their niche is beautifully, beautifully designed dials, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, as I've grown as a collector, like some watch brands, they're very romantic, I guess, about how they market and tell stories. And
Yeah.
this watch, like is inspired by the way the water runs through our manufacturer, like the trees when we look out, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like I want to watch, like, and this goes back to me as a collector.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a utility guy, like I like watches that like were designed for a purpose, you know, like like just something that was like of the era. Like, it was a tool. It was designed to be functional and practical,
Yeah.
versus like, and that's where a lot of brands even like lose me. Like Vacheron like loses me, like A Long and Son like loses me,
Yeah.
because they make beautiful. I mean, they make some of those beautiful watches. AP loses me. Like,
Yeah.
some of those beautiful watches in the world, but they're just that, And I'm probably gonna get slayed online for saying this, but it's just
I
my
think
opinion.
I think everyone's different. It's all personal preference. That's why there's so much beauty in the variety that is out there. There is something for everyone. Like, if you're into the aesthetics of it, fantastic. There's a brand for that. If you're into the utilitarian element of it, there's a brand for that. If you only like dive watches, there's brands for it. I think for me, it's whether you have an appreciation for those other elements. They might necessarily speak to you. They might not be your personal preference, but Panerai, as an example, I think that's what you're wearing. Yeah, not for me at all. Just not for me. But I have an appreciation for what they do, and their design is unique to them. It's their branding is fantastic. They are well made pieces, but I would never own one. They're not for me.
More for me.
More for you,
Yeah.
exactly. One Seiko may not be for everybody with their
Yeah,
very
of course.
strict dials, but they are for other people. And
No.
I love the variety.
Yeah. What about in your collection now? So we're coming up to like almost like an hour and 15 minutes here. I don't want to keep you any longer. I've got a million more questions I could ask you. We might need to do a part two. Um, but in your collection now,
Yeah.
I'm sure you have watches that are like, you buy a watch and then it appreciates, right? Not something I really care about, but you're like, oh, that's cool. Like, I appreciate the fact that like I'm not going to lose my ass off if something happens. So I'm sure you have or let's just look at it from a sentimental perspective, probably better. But like, watches in your collection now that you would never sell, regardless of any value that they could have on the potential secondary market, what would those
Yeah.
be?
I mean, I do say to, like, when you're speaking to someone, this is probably tangent slightly, but when you're speaking to someone not into watches, or even a couple of people that are really into watches, one of their first questions is, how much does it resell for? Does it hold its value? And that's not how I purchase watches. That's not how I
Same.
approach them. Like, do I like it? Do I love it? Do I want it in my collection? Yes. That's it. Like, that's pretty much as far as it gets. If I go to sell it and it does well, bonus, like absolute bonus. But yeah, which does also mean that a lot of the watches that I do have in my collection hold a value to me quite
Yeah.
significantly. There are a few in there that I would sell. There are a few in there that I definitely wouldn't. Like, obviously, my Rolex and my Grand Seiko, I would never sell. I've got a my 1950s Omega. I just love that dial. It's so simple, but I don't think I would ever sell it. There's something like a Hamilton khaki field that I've got in there. Maybe one day I will sell that if, another clean white dial comes along. But I'm not going to sell it based on what I can get for it in the secondary market. It's more I've had it, I've loved it, I've enjoyed my time with it. I knew what I was getting into when I made that purchase in terms of like spending the money. I made
Yeah.
sure it was of significant, enough value that I was all right parting with that money. So that when I do go to sell it, is it going to go to a good home? Yeah, cool, done. That's kind of it to me. So yeah, they're all, I think in the collection, there's always going to be one or two that you don't really care or don't mind, like switching out. But yeah, for me, it does mean that in the way that I collect, it does mean quite a few of them have a bit of sentimental value at least attached to them. So kind of be tough to part with.
That's what I'm facing right now, because I purchase watches like as mementos. And so like when I'm going through my collection, I'm trying to figure out the purge, right? Like, oh, I purchased this during that, or like this for that. Like, wow, like that makes it even harder to
For sure.
do,
Yeah. Try
beyond the fact that
the spreadsheet thing. Try
I
that.
have it.
And
I have the
use
app on my phone.
wear it for, wear it for a week and see how you get on with that.
I have the app that's tracking it right now. And like there's watches that like I will never set, like Panerai. Like Panerai was like my grail watch, like before I even got into watches. And like I went to New Chatal like I think it was like 3 years ago, and like I got like a private tour of the Panerai factory, and like, like I got to sit down with the CEO, and like we just had like like a chat like over coffee, and I was like, and then when I came back, I bought this one. I was like, okay, like, hey. So like as like I had my Panerai that I loved, and now I need a Panerai to mark that coffee, you know?
Exactly.
so 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 yeah, but yeah, so I don't know. But for me, like Panerai does have some good white dials, wink wink,
There's just something about them. I think they had one a couple of years ago. I think it was their submission to the Pink Project that they did. And that one I kind of liked. And yeah, that's kind of the only one that's really resonated with me. And it sucks because I'm like, when there's brands that I really want to like, and I just haven't found the one to connect with it.
Yeah.
Like JLC, love them as a brand, love what they do, love the quality of their pieces. Again, classic with a twist, with the unique, reverso setup, but hadn't found the one that just really connects me to the brand. And then
Wow.
they released that rose gold is it the monoface
The
last year?
Reverso? Yeah,
Yeah,
the Reverso
reverse.
tribute. Yeah.
Fell in love straight away. Absolutely fell in love with it. That is such a beautiful piece. Couldn't put my finger on exactly what, why is that so different to the other reversos. But for me,
Right.
that's the one that has really connected me to the brand. Have an appreciation, but that's the one for me to really connect with them. Do you have any
Wait till you
like
see
that?
wait till you see the price tag.
I'm not gonna be able to afford it.
I don't think I was like, okay, Lucy, go Lucy. Damn. Like,
If anyone wants to gift me that for my birthday this year, that'd be great.
I think, yeah, I mean, there is, right? So like just a couple weeks ago, like, or maybe like a couple months ago, I had the chance to wear a Parmigiani Tonda PF for, I think I had it for like 3 months or 4 months.
Lovely.
And so, the PR company was like, "Hey, just run this." Like, this was right when it came out. And so like I'm wearing it into like all the watch stores around here. People are like, "Oh, how the hell did you get that?" Like we don't we have customers waiting for this watch, like, because it was like the light blue dial or whatever.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, it's like that
um,
grey.
it's like a gray blue, like I don't even know how to describe it.
Beautiful.
But then they were like, "Where did you get this?" And I was like, "Oh, I Parmigiani sent it to me." And they're like, and then people around the whole like store were like, "Oh, let me see." They're taking pictures of it, like passing it, like, "Hey, Johnny, come see this. Hey, like Susie, come see, like, come take a look at what Blake's got." Like, and in that watch, right? Like, the way that the GMT hand tucks under, I was like, this is freaking amazing. And then additionally, one of my friends wanted me to help him like find a watch because like I'm in all the dealers chats still. So like I can get watches at wholesale, for a lot of brands. Which doesn't help my case as a watch collector. But so he's like, "Hey, I want this Vacheron, what is it? Is a Vacheron here, was it? I'm gonna have to look it up, but it was the three-handed Vacheron, just like the little three-handed dress watch.
Historic
What's that?
collection? Is it part of their
No.
historic?
Shit. I literally, hold on. I literally have it like on the top of my tongue because I just had it. I was just wearing it.
Traditional?
No, you're so close though. It's 56, 56. The Vacheron 56 three-hander. So it wasn't the calendar, it was the 56
Okay. Yep.
self-winding.
Yeah.
And he, same thing. So like he was somewhere, I think he was in Miami for like Art Basel or something. And he's like, "Oh, just ship it to your house." So like I sourced the watch and shipped it to me. And then I like, of course, I got the watch in. I was like, making sure like all was kosher. And then I sent him a text. I'm like, "Hey, bro, like, can I wear this?" He's like, "Hell yeah, you can." And I'm like, "All right, dude, like, I love you." Like, so then I start running that. I wore that for about a week. And he's like, "Oh, just wear it for as long as you want. Ship it to me when you're done." He's that type of friend.
You ever
Um,
want to?
I literally shipped it back to him after a week because every time I wore it, I was like, "I love this, but I'll never buy this, but I love it. But like, why
See?
would I wear this? What would, like, um, and a part of like the content that I produce, like I want to do like culture content as opposed to like the traditional watch outlets who talk about like release after release after release after release, So like I want to talk about like collectors conflicts and journeys and like the thought process and like how to get into watches, like how to like smooth up your Rolex dealer, like I want to talk about all this stuff, um and for me, like I started to like think about like how I bring watches into my collection. Like what purpose does it serve me? Right. In that watch. Same thing for the Tonda, like the Parmesan.
Mhm.
Like the most beautiful watches you will ever, and Grand Seiko that I already own, like the most beautiful watches you will ever own as a watch collector, but they serve no purpose in my collection.
What do you wear to special events? If you have to go to a wedding, what are you wearing?
A Reverso.
Okay.
So I have a Reverso. I have a gold Cartier tank. I have what other dress watches do I have? This is actually kind of dressy because it's on like alligator. This is the dressy Panerai, right? So that's like a hybrid for me. What else?
So like in terms of, I guess you would say like the 3 watch or the 5 watch collection that everyone talks about, like, you have the element that those watches, like the space that those watches would fit into is already occupied, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I love my Reverso. I love my tank. Oh, I have a Cartier Santos, like with, you know, like that would be another one. My Rolex Datejust, like those could all serve the same purpose. You know, I mean, I'm trying to think what else. I have more dress watches, but just I mean the Grand Seiko, right? That we could even fit in that little boat as like a dressy sporty watch. But you know,
I guess
even
with like Parmigiani, it's a brand that's different. It is doing, it's kind of more indies, maybe not like the exact word, but it's not a mainstream brand. And then
I think
Vacheron produce beautiful pieces. So you could
I I mean hot take. I think Parmigiani is, in my opinion, like Patek level.
it's just more left field than like a standard, like people, when you're asking people about brands of that level, they would probably automatically go to like Langer and Patek and that. So it's a little bit more of it's high quality, but it's more of a left field choice, I would say.
It feels more like artisanal, you know, like it feels more like I mean I'm at this point when I start to think about bigger brands, like I think about like automation and mass production and machine, you know, machine assembly, you know. I don't know what level of Patek, you know, does that, but like, you know, Parmigiani doesn't make a ton of watches, you
Mhm.
know. And so I mean, I think it's very artisanal in the sense that like they're just so rare out there, you know, like they're not going to produce a whole ton of them, you know, and like, you know, it seems like if you go to Chrono 24 right now and look up Patek, like, you know, you're going to see a freaking trillion of them for sale, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still haven't really like, and I don't really put myself in situations like that. Like, oh, I got to wear a tuxedo. Okay. Like you won't see me there, you know? So, but even from our wedding, you know, I wore, Speedmaster, a Speedmaster on. I actually wore a Speedmaster on the most untraditional way. I wore it on,
So.
sailcloth. So, I so, but no, I also have watches that I would define as hybrids. Like I have the Zenith Defy Revival, right? Freaking love that. I have the
Yeah.
Chronomaster Sport. Like I freaking love that. Like I have an IWC Mark 18. Like that's a hybrid. You know, I have the IWC Pirates Chronograph hybrid,
Yeah.
you know, like I feel like sporty watches can be dressy, but dressy watches can't be sporty.
I don't know. My Grand Seiko looks pretty good on a rubber strap.
Yeah, my friend, he's been trying to prove it to me for the past 3 years. He has a Cartier Santos Dumont, and he wears it on a rubber strap, and I'm like, "Okay, that's kinda badass."
It's
Like,
kind of, yeah, it's not like smart casual vibe.
it
Like
works somehow. So I
you
could
could
be
like
wrong.
you can wear it just jeans and t-shirt, or it's perfect, like it looks great with a tux or a, you know, an evening dress.
Well,
So
I remember too, like, I went, you know, I think we were getting ready to travel, and, like, so me and my wife, we were packing, like, our flight was out in the evening, and, like, up the street here, there's kinda like, like a breakfast spot. It's kind of like Denny's. It's kind of like IHOP. It's kind of like Waffle House. So like 99% of like my like kit, is like whatever, like athletic pants, like right now I'm wearing NBA basketball pants with a t-shirt. So I went in there, NBA basketball pants, t-shirt, and then I had like a hoodie, like a zip up hoodie, like from Adidas. And then I was wearing flip-flops because it was, like, I don't know, it was like not cold, but not hot. But and a reverso. So
Yeah.
it
I mean,
worked. It worked. It worked.
why the hell not?
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for spending so much time with us. This has been an amazing episode. We could probably go for the next 4 hours and not even realize, but I want to be respectful of your time and our listeners. So, Lucy, thank you so much for tuning in, giving us your insights, sharing time with us, letting us tell your story. And hopefully I'll see you soon.
Maybe.
Maybe I'm thinking
Maybe I'll wear
about
glasses and just confuse you.
yeah. Well, maybe I might be coming to Watches and Wonders. So I'm sure you'll be at Time to Watch is
Who knows
probably
where
or
he's doing? Where I'm
or
going to
maybe
be this
the Beau
year.
Rivage, maybe
Traveled
the Beau.
loads last year. Let's see where this year takes me.
Yeah, I'll have to if I go for sure, I'll have to text Lewis and say like send Lucy to the Beau Rivage. But no, hopefully I'll see you in Switzerland this year.
We'll see. Hopefully I'll be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Well, if not, Vegas.
If
Everybody wants
not,
to come to Vegas.
yeah. If not,
There's
who knows where we'll both be?
well,
I've
it's actually quite
crossed quite a lot anyway, so I'm sure
no.
I'll see you there.
My only connection to the UK is well now technically through you and through Georgia, but additionally there's like this like UK like party club, and it's like it's I don't know what they're called, but like they live in the UK and they market themselves as like a tourist like tourist group to UK people to want to come party to Vegas. And so like I communicate with those guys because they're bringing these like footballers and like, these like really high status people to
Okay.
Vegas. And then they reach out to me and I'm like sitting down with these like footballers from like Manchester United who like, I don't know who the fuck they are. And it brings an interesting situation to my life. Like all these Premier League guys that I'm having lunch with and dinner with, I don't even know who the fuck they are. Like, cause I don't watch football like that. But
I guess normal people. They're still
yeah, no, but it's cool. It's cool. It's cool to like to meet those guys and like when they come down and they come down in groups, it's like 5 footballers and like they want to freaking try and buy a Rolex or whatever, or like they want to get the Vegas watch experience. Like I'll like meet up with those guys and
yeah,
no.
introduce
So
to the Vegas scene.
So maybe you can come with one of those groups to Vegas.
Yeah, that sounds great. Get involved in that.
Yeah. Lucy, thank you so much for spending time
Thanks
with
so
us.
much for having me. It's been a good chat.
We'll talk super soon for sure.